time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
On a Thursday, and great to have you with us all across America, Canada as well. Glad you're hanging out with us for the next 60 minutes. It's Thursday, and that means a baseball Thursday with David Aardsma hanging out for a few segments, coming up in about 10 minutes. Go around the big leagues with him. We'll have some hockey, an update on the Bill Belichick story we talked about yesterday as well. But we start things out in the NBA, and Sam Yarnell is hanging out with us for the duration today. Well, look, I mean, the T-Wolves knock off the Lakers in 5. And last night, you know, the way this whole thing went down with Luka hurting his back in the first half and sort of limping around in the second half. I mean, not that it's changed his defense all that much because he looks the same on defense whether his back is hurting or not, and huffing and puffing and wheezing as he runs up and down the floor. But then, you know, LeBron didn't play a very good game last night either, which played into this. And Rudy Gobert played the game of his life. You know, I think he had 28 and 24. And it felt like he was on every single ball that came off the rim, especially on the offensive end for the Timberwolves, who couldn't hit a shot from three. I think they were like 7 of 48 from three in this game. I mean, some dreadful number like that. And they still figure out a way to win Game 5. But there's going to be a lot of questions about, you know, sort of the composition of this Lakers team. Of course, the questions were asked post-game about whether or not LeBron will be back next year or not, Sam. And he said he couldn't really talk about that right now. I'd be shocked if he didn't come back with the opportunity to play with Luka. But it's also going to have something to do with how the Lakers sort of fill out this roster, whether it's getting a big, because we obviously saw the loss of Anthony Davis and what it meant for this team defensively. What it's going to mean for getting some shooters around LeBron and Luka as well, although Rui Hachimura shot it pretty well last night for them in the loss. A lot of questions going into this offseason, not to mention the head coach, J.J. Redick, who's not a question. Obviously, he's going to be back next year, but some of the decisions in this series have certainly led some people to wonder if he was in a little over his skis.
They have. On the Lakers side, though, I will say I would, like you, be utterly and unbelievably shocked if LeBron James did not come back next season because, you know, Jason, as I've been telling you since they made this trade for Luka Doncic, that was the best thing that the Lakers could have done for their organization, not for this year, but for next year and the year after, because they almost guaranteed that LeBron James is coming back next year, and there's a pretty good shot that as long as they don't win the title next year, he'll come back the year after that and try to run it back again, because this team is now built for the future. This was a great outcome for the Lakers. Yeah, sure, they lost in the first round. Does it matter? No. This team, this Lakers team, this year in this NBA was never going to win the championship, so losing in the first round, just as good as losing in the conference finals to me. Because quite frankly, they just weren't going to beat the Thunder, and if they got past the Thunder, they had no chance against the Cavs or the Celtics. Fact. Just plainly and simply put. The Lakers are a front office that, as we've seen for, 40 years, will go out and mortgage everything to win now. They are the New York Yankees of basketball. They will do whatever it takes to maintain relevancy 24/7, 365, for every year to come. So what does that mean in this offseason? They're going to go out. They'll probably get the best big on the market in terms of free agency. They'll stack up their bench, and next year they are going to be a viable title contender. Problem is, no one seemed to recognize when they made this move for Luka Doncic that is exactly what the Lakers front office saw as well.
I think you're 100%. I can't disagree with anything you said. I think all of it is spot on. I was one of those people that thought they could contend this year, and maybe it was a bit of fool's gold with what we saw from them down the stretch over the last 25 games of the season. But ultimately, now where we are, I don't think it matters because I don't think anybody's beating Oklahoma City. I'm not convinced anybody in the West can beat Oklahoma City. But
thank you.
But certainly the Lakers are not. We're not that team. Go ahead.
No, I mean,
Real
what's
quick.
funny, Jason, is that like as much as you and I talked on the show, whenever we talk about NBA during the regular season, and I felt like I was screaming into the abyss, like it is a one-team conference in the West. The Oklahoma City Thunder are hands and feet above of everybody else in the conference.
Yeah.
It's just becoming more and more true
You
in the
have to-
playoffs, which is when I didn't expect it to be true, right? You'd expect that some team gets hot and everyone's like, oh, they're definitely going to beat the Thunder who haven't played in the playoffs before.
The only argument you can make is the Nuggets that we saw in Game 5 in Denver show up for an entire 7-game series, or the Clippers we saw for the first few games against the Nuggets show up for the entire series. That's the only argument you can make. Real quick, Rockets beat the Warriors last night. And there was something very disturbing about what happened in this game, and it's this. The fact that you have a closeout situation, and you're Steve Kerr, and you have a Rockets team that all of a sudden is on the ropes in the fourth quarter, trying to figure out how to close out this game, looking at the clock, just hoping time ticks away. And you've got 6 or 7 minutes on the clock, and you're down 12, 13, 14 points. And you've got Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry, two of the best players in the league, sitting on the bench, and you're not bringing your starters back in. I don't know how the rest of this series plays out. The Rockets have certainly been more than competitive in these games on the road in San Francisco against the Warriors. But if the Rockets somehow figure out a way to come back and win this series, get this thing back to Houston for a Game 7 where all bets are off, there's got to be some serious questions asked of Steve Kerr as to why you wouldn't go for the jugular when you have a chance in that Game 5 situation where the Rockets were falling all over themselves, Sam.
Yeah, you could not be more right, Jason Page. I was watching this game and scratching my head the entire time, and I mean, you look up and it's halftime and they're down freaking 25 points. Like, this was, to me, the most, and I know people are dumbfounded with themselves talking about JJ Redick today, JJ Redick this and that, and JJ Redick. Folks, Steve Kerr may deserve a little bit more blame than JJ Redick. That's not to say that Steve Kerr is not a better basketball coach than JJ Redick by any stretch of the imagination. Steve Kerr will go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time because of what he's done in the league. But last night was a head scratcher.
Total head scratcher.
I could not wrap my head around it.
I mean, I get that Pat Spencer's getting you back into the game, but my God. I mean, we're riding with Pat Spencer when you're down and it's manageable, and you have a chance at one of the best three-point shooters in the history of the NBA sitting on the bench in what basically became a 4-possession game. Mind-boggling. I don't get it. We'll see what happens in Game 6 of that series. David Aardsma is here to talk baseball next. Welcome back to the show on this Thursday. Shift away from the NBA, because if it's a Thursday, it means David Aardsma's here, ladies and gentlemen. Saliva and all.
Yes. Where's the song? Why aren't you playing it?
No. I can't afford to be sued for copyright. Could barely afford to put the show on the air. Please. I want to ask you something. David Aardsma, former MLB reliever, Sirius XM MLB radio, whatever. He does a lot of stuff. He used to pitch in baseball. Used to pitch in Major League Baseball, and he used to run out.
My wife, I rode the bench a lot,
and he used to run.
True.
And his run out song was apparently some song called Saliva.
Ladies and gentlemen, by Saliva. God, we
gentlemen,
just had this conversation
Yeah.
off the air, dude.
dude. It's a perfect. It talks about like entering the ring and like it's the circus and like you're the ringmaster and you're about to show everybody with the show and it's perfect.
It's perfect for this because this is a circus as well. I want to ask you something. Not that you've been a Major League Baseball manager, but we were talking about in the last segment about JJ Redick. And I want to kind of segue into baseball this way and ask the question, managing, first-time manager, first season in Major League Baseball versus the difficulties of being a first-time head coach in the NBA, which do you think is more difficult in terms of the adjustment?
Ooh, so baseball, there's so much less. They kind of put the your 9 out there, right? And you just kind of go. And if you think there's going to be a bunt play, you may run a bunt play. You have a couple decisions on like maybe first and third plays. What do you do? But it's really a lot of times it's go. It just go play. And in the NBA, I can't imagine JJ Redick and they're just out there and just say go play for 3 quarters, 4 quarters. Maybe I'm wrong. So I think in the NBA, they probably have a lot more control of the game as it goes, and then you pick your couple plays at the end. And at the end of the day, though, it's always get the ball to your superstar. In baseball, it's relievers. That's the difference. That's
of
where
course you would say it's about relievers.
But that's the one spot that they have any real control about, because you're not really pinch hitting. You're not today's day and age. You're not bunting a whole lot. You're not doing all these little hit and run stuff that you used to do. It's relievers and reliever management over the course of a series, and that's where managers, honest to God, that's where managers are. The good ones and the bad ones, and that's the difference. Is when it comes to the end of the game, how do they manage it with relievers? Do they just freak out? Do they get rid of their starting pitcher early? You feel the pressure when it comes to choosing relievers and how quickly you choose relievers.
Interesting. Is somebody mowing the lawn outside your place today? Is that what's going on right now?
Every Thursday.
Somebody's mowing the lawn. That's wonderful. Wonderful.
Again, it's Arizona, so they're pushing rock around.
Fair enough. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't losing my mind, that it sounded like somebody was mowing. Yeah, it's all right. Somebody's mowing the lawn. It's fine. It's not like we're doing a nationally syndicated TV show. It's fine, really. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I'm watching. I think a lot of the NBA is sort of just rolling the balls out there because the game moves so fast. I don't know how much in-game coaching you could do. Yeah, during the timeouts you might do stuff. Whereas in baseball, there's a lot of time in between, even with pitch clocks and them trying to speed up the pace of the game. It was just something I was curious about, being a first-year manager versus being a first-year head coach in the NBA. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, you know who's going to steal, right? You know who's going to hit home runs. You know what the starting pitcher is going to do. So again, there's only that spot. That's the only real control they have of the game anymore.
And David, let's not forget, over the course of the last 5 years in Major League Baseball, a manager's job, not any particular one, all of them in general, have gotten, umpteen degrees easier with the implementation of the universal DH. Again, I think you will at least agree with me that we should ban the DH altogether. Let's get rid of it altogether. Pitchers are athletes. Pitchers should hit. I got a weird question.
Never going to happen, by the way.
And it's not a weird question.
Let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
It makes baseball more fun. Let's be honest. It does. Pinch hitting, double switches. It's the best part of baseball. All right. So something I saw just postulated yesterday, and it wasn't seriously, but it was kind of jokingly, is that we got to disband the Rockies because they're such a bad franchise. They're we just got to get rid of them. Just send them off to Mars. Push them into the shadow realm. People are talking about how we need to expand to obviously Vegas, but Montreal and Nashville. There are all these cities being thrown around for new baseball teams. You were in Major League Baseball last time it expanded. You were a Major League Baseball player in 2005 when the Washington Nationals, the 2019 World Series champions, moved to Washington from Montreal. What is the vibe around all of Major League Baseball when you've got a new club in the league? And do you think that we should see a new team in Nashville? We should see a team in Montreal again?
So should they disband the Rockies? No. God, they're so bad. They're so bad, though. I saw a post, too, where they're talking about disbanding the Rockies. I'm talking about making all the Florida teams just call them the Fish and just throw them out there together.
The Baltimore Pirates was thrown in there as well. I think that's a really good idea. Just combine the two franchises.
Again, we're talking about some of these historical franchises, right? The Pirates aren't going to be this bad forever. The Rockies are, I don't know, maybe, but they're going to get better, hopefully, at some point. But the real question, as a player, it's excitement. As a player, you're out there and you love it because that's 30 more, or that's 20 some odd more jobs. And in the organization, so many more jobs. So now there's more money that's going to go around to players. There's going to go more opportunities, more coaching opportunities for when you're retired, et cetera, et cetera. You just keep going down that line. So as a player, you love it. You know they're going to suck a little bit. Now the Nationals were in a little different position than most teams, and so there's some different vibe out there with that. So you kind of love all that stuff. But from an expansion standpoint, we have to be very careful. Salt Lake City, love the city. Probably not enough of a true baseball fan base to push it, and the weather's going to be hard in the winter. I don't believe Montreal is a major league city. I'm going to say it. I think it's not necessarily what everybody wants to say. I do not believe they're a major league city. It's a smaller city. They do have a good TV and stuff, but it's okay. Portland, no, just hard no. It's a hard no. Nashville, yes. And for me, Puerto Rico and Mexico City is the real city.
Hold that thought. We're going to come back. Apologies to our friends in Montreal. Welcome back to the show. Now that we've chased away our entire Canadian audience, thanks to David Aardsma, we continue the conversation. Then we go to break, and he says, "Oh, but I love Canada." No, all they heard you say is Montreal's not a Major League Baseball city. And they've got one, and the Expos have one of the best social medias out there. Their X account is fantastic. They've always got great content on there. Yes, I love you, Montreal. The thoughts of David Aardsma do not reflect the thoughts of Sports Wrap with Jason Page. Just because
I just love the idea that Toronto and the Blue Jays represent Canada. I love that, and I don't think Major League Baseball and Montreal fully vibe together. At the same time, like I finished it, Mexico City is the big boy. That is a baseball centered place and a massive population.
Yes, until players start getting kidnapped and held for ransom, and then we're going to have a bigger problem.
That's the biggest problem there, especially visiting team comes in, home team. That's the biggest problem.
You can't walk with it. You can't walk 3 blocks away from your hotel. Great.
Yes, if they could get better with that, which I don't see that in the foreseeable future.
Sam, don't shrug.
I mean, there goes our whole Mexican audience too.
Listen, Mexico's got issues.
It does. In Mexico City especially.
If Aardsma can hate on Canada and my entire Canadian audience, oh, Canada, we love you, by the way. Winnipeg Jets, big win last night. Then I can speak truth to power when it comes to what's going on in Mexico City and why we don't have a team there. There.
We're going to go back in the archives and bring this one out when you do give your station in Mexico City.
It's okay. Can we talk about Aaron Judge for a second?
I knew that was coming.
You knew it's coming. He's hitting 427 for crying out loud. He's hitting 427 with 10 and 32 over the first 30 games of the season. We should be talking about it. Last year, you poo-pooed the idea that he could hit 400. And David Aardsma, I think he can.
How is this real? How is this happening at this point? Why are we pitching to him? And the real question, and this, I don't know if this is where you're going with this. What are they doing to the baseballs when the Yankees play?
What?
That's the question. It's a question that at some point needs to start being asked, because
I am definitely putting this on social media so Yankee fans can come after you, because I don't understand this. Why?
That's even more tinfoil hat than me.
Yes, really. We've got I hate Canada. We've got tinfoil hat boy on baseballs. I'm like, what is going on here?
The Yankees are leading in almost every stat. It's the Dodgers, Yankees, and almost everything. They're hitting so many more home runs than everybody else. I don't know. All I know is the ball is coming off the bat a little harder for all the Yankees than it seems like they're for anybody else. I don't know if it's
Trent Grisham's got like 10 home runs 30 games into the season. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, man, they're killing the ball. Aaron Judge, obviously, we know is one of the best hitters in baseball, had one of the best seasons in Major League Baseball history last year, and he's doing better. How is this possible? How is he? I mean, even in the last 7 games, he's hitting 480.
Yeah.
Let alone 427 on the season. This is absolutely insane. It's going to have to come down at some point because the way I see it is they're going to stop pitching to him. That's the thing is this lineup, the way they have it right now is they keep pitching to him, and I don't understand why.
Well, the Yankees keep kind of manipulating the lineup. It feels like the Yankees never put out the same lineup every day in terms of where they're putting guys in the order. One day, Paul Goldschmidt's hitting third. The next day, he's hitting first. Anthony Volpe's hitting ninth. Then he's hitting fifth. They're moving guys all over the place in that lineup.
I mean, Trent Grisham is like, what? How is this possible with his whole career trajectory? And he's sitting out there hitting 300?
Yeah.
Dude. The most underreported thing about the Yankees team this year is that Paul Goldschmidt threw 118 at bats, is second in Major League Baseball in batting average. The guy's hitting 357 as a washed up 40-year-old. Like, how is this possible?
Is Goldie 40 years old?
He's got to be close, right?
I believe he's
Google,
like
how old is Paul Goldschmidt? Yeah, we'll get an answer.
Paul Goldschmidt is 37 years old.
37.
37.
God, don't make him 40 yet. When nobody's in a rush to get to 40.
Okay.
I do believe that was one of the best signings in the offseason. And I've been screaming this, that he is going, this is a perfect place for him. It's a perfect situation for a guy like Paul Goldschmidt to kill it. But when you're talking about Trent Grisham, who hit 190, 198, 184 in the previous 3 seasons, how is he hitting 300? That's not all of a sudden great coaching.
No. Red Sox blow a 6-0 lead last night, lose to the Blue Jays. Yeesh.
Yes, not a great time.
Not optimal.
Not optimal, but at the same time, the Red Sox are playing great baseball. It's Major League Baseball. We live and die. They play 162 games, and we live and die on like what? I love it. No other sport do we do this, where we live and die on that one game. They blow a 5-run lead, which is insane that they did it, but it's still a pretty good team.
But it's the beauty of baseball versus other sports is you get to go right back at it the next day. In the NFL, if you lose on a last-second field goal, you got to sit around for a week. In the NBA, you got to wait 2-3 nights. In hockey, you got to wait a couple nights. In Major League Baseball, you get to get right back up there the next day.
Yes. And that's the beautiful part of it, is you go out the next day, you win, and everyone suddenly forgot about that game that you blew 5-run lead.
Yeah.
Speaking of that series, actually, between the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, did you see the catch that Dalton Varsho made the other night? That was incredible. Led me to ask you, David, were you ever on the field or even a part of a team when one of these crazy, like, climb the wall, jump over it, snow cone the ball, or some crazy catch was made? And has anyone ever been made behind you while you were on the mound?
Yes, there were some good ones up behind me on the mound. Ichiro has had a couple for like game-winning save things. In Texas, he almost robbed a home run. I think it was a little short, but almost robbed a home run. Kansas City, he was sliding into the pad and got one for the final out. But probably the most famous one I was around for, I was not pitching, but Manny Ramirez in Baltimore when he ran up the wall and high-fived the fan.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
I remember that.
And then threw a guy out at second base, by the way. Like, people forgot about that. The guy forgot the tag, and he threw him out at second base. At the same time, in that same series, there was a fly ball to left field, and he half ran and then dove and started rolling on the ground over the ball. And then from the ground, grenaded it up. So got to see the best and worst. Manny got to be Manny for that series.
We're hanging out with David Aardsma. We'll do one more segment with him, talking baseball on this Thursday edition of Sports Wrap. I want to ask him about a star who changed teams in the offseason and whether it's time to be a little concerned about him. We'll get to it next. All right, one more segment with David Aardsma, former big league reliever, hanging out with us on the show. We're freestyling with him today on the program, bouncing around Major League Baseball. At what point, if you're a Mets fan, do you worry about Juan Soto?
Ooh, I'm worried about him from the day we signed him to now, for the next 15 years, whatever he signed for that contract next to life. lifetime contract. It's New York. It's the Mets. They're going to win. They're going to assume he's going to suck because that's what Mets do. Met fans do. They assume the worst first. He's going to be just fine. He's too good of a hitter. He's too good of a player. I don't think he's thinking about his time back with the Yankees. I'm sure every Yankee fan is telling him that, oh, he still just wants to be in with the Yankees. To me, I look at it this way. He's doing better right now. He's hitting 268 in his last 7 games. He's playing a little bit better baseball. Again, you weren't going to get a Gold Glove right fielder when you signed him. But anytime he's just getting on base, anytime he's out there, he makes that team better. And that's the thing.
He's making Alonso better. I mean, we talk about guys having monster years. Pete Alonso is raking right now.
And I don't need, there are 21-10. I do not need Juan Soto to be playing incredible baseball. I just need him in a lineup. And that's the thing. People want to compare his numbers or someone else's numbers, and so should be making more money than him just because they're playing better in the first 31 games of the season. Juan Soto makes everybody better when he's in a lineup just by being there. And even if his numbers are down, you're in that pitcher's meeting, you're like, all right, let's take advantage of his numbers are being down. But at the end of the day, he's not the guy you're pitching to. And so he still affects everybody. And yeah, when he's still not doing well, everyone else is doing great because they still have the effect of having to face him and not wanting to face him. They'd rather walk him than even face him whenever he's hitting whatever he is, 250. You still don't want to face him.
David, an interesting narrative to me in the National League this year has kind of just been people are acting with the kind of the same, not necessarily the exact, but seemingly the same assumption with which Aaron Judge is going to win an AL MVP, that Shohei Ohtani's still going to win the NL MVP. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Shohei guy. I feel like I've made my case for that on the show enough over the course of the past 2 years. But this year, in a National League where, like Jason just mentioned, Pete Alonso is absolutely raking. Fernando Tatis Jr., absolutely raking. The San Diego Padres as a team, I mean, you got Manny Machado in there as well. Is there real concern for you that Shohei might not win the NL MVP this year?
Is there concern? Yes. I don't believe that he's going to be the guy. Right now, the way he's swinging, the way he looks, again, he still has a 950 OPS, so it's not like he's playing horrible baseball.
Bag him, he's done.
He still has 7 home runs, which is 3 behind the major league lead. I think it's just we're seeing a hot and cold kind of. We're seeing bad swings. We're seeing swings that we hadn't seen in the past. My question is, and we're going to talk about it today on my show, is does trying to come back on the pitching side, is it affecting the hitting side? And the numbers when he does start pitching, if he's out there starting, the numbers are going to come down on a batting side because you're not playing every 5 days. You're going to have your day off on the pitching side. It's just, is it affecting him where he's prepping so much more? He's thinking about it. And the pressure of the Dodgers starting staff constantly being hurt, constantly having the next man down, where usually it's the next man up. It's the next man down. Is that putting pressure on him to come back and putting more pressure on his batting? He's still hitting 290. It's just he has, and I've said this last year, he's entering the Trout effect. We're 290 and a 950 OPS and being second or third in the league in home runs is now not good enough. And now not Ohtani numbers, where right now, if you just threw it out there, he'd probably be 4th in the league or 5th in the league in MVP voting. Pretty good in the National League.
So you're going to nerd out on Ohtani today on your show? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. It's always fun to nerd out. You love to nerd out on Judge and Skeens, and we like Ohtani.
Right. Fair enough.
We got it covered now. It's perfect.
All right. Fair enough. By the way, go back to Colorado for a second. How do you fix that? If I put you in charge of the Rockies and you just get handed this mess, how would you fix that?
That is the toughest question. One, you have to. This is a point where you start over. You get rid of all your big contracts. You get rid of. I don't know.
That's the thing. It's not like they don't spend money. It's not like they're the A's and they don't spend money. They spend money. They just don't spend it wisely.
And that's the issue. You go back. You have to get Chris Bryant. We all. I don't want to say saw it coming, but we all knew he wasn't going to be the same hitter. We all knew health-wise he wasn't going to be the same. I think that's the contract that put them behind. They're still paying for other players too. They're still paying other people's contracts. And when we have team players playing on other teams and you're paying their contracts and you're not the New York Yankees and Dodgers, that's not a good thing. And so to me, you have to bomb the salary as it is, restart, and you have to pull a Nationals. You have to pull a Rays where you have to bring in the analytical minds of the analytical minds, spend all the money in the front office, bring in the smartest people in baseball and say, we got to figure out what wins at Coors Field. And then how do we build a system where we bring up a stud, we trade him for 4 studs. We bring up a stud, we trade him for 4 studs, and you constantly create this revolving door around building a good team.
Yeah, but the problem is, David, and I mean, you'll know this better than anyone, what free agent wants to go pitch there? And the fact of the matter is, you can't build a competitive team without signing free agents.
Yeah. And so, but you do the opposite of the Mariners. And so the Mariners have figured out how to build a pitching staff because it doesn't really matter. Everybody pitches well in Seattle, and they're all the greatest pitchers in baseball. But everybody pitches well in Seattle, and no one hits in Seattle. It's just statistically there. And so you do the opposite. I don't need the greatest pitchers. I just need to figure out the guys that can pitch there.
By the way, Mariners 18-12 leading the American League West. Hello to our friends watching on Root Sports. David Aardsma likes you. He doesn't like Canada, but he likes Seattle, apparently. It's going to do it. See you later. Coming up in 10 minutes, odds and ends to wrap things up. But first, let's revisit something we discussed on yesterday's show, and that was the CBS Sunday Morning interview with Bill Belichick. And apparently his girlfriend, Jordon Hudson, who was just offset, kind of calling the shots on how that whole thing played out. There's been another leaf, I guess you could say, that grows off the tree on this story. And that is Bill Belichick coming out, because we talked about it yesterday on the show. And Bill Belichick decided to come out yesterday and say that there was a false narrative that was being put out about his girlfriend, Jordon Hudson, and that she was trying to control an interview with CBS News Sunday Morning that Bill Belichick was doing, because at one point during the interview, she shut down a question about how the two had met. So Belichick, in a statement, now there's a reason I'm bringing this up. It's not just some salacious, TMZ sports story that we're talking about here. The story now becomes one that involves his employer, the University of North Carolina, because and this is the key words of this story. Jake Trotter did it for ESPN. In a statement released by North Carolina on Wednesday, Belichick said the segment presented, quote, selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordon was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true. Here's the problem. When you start putting out statements on your personal life and your relationship with this woman on North Carolina letterhead, now it's becoming a school issue. Now it's becoming an employer issue. Now it's your AD, it's your school president, your chancellor, whatever it may be at UNC saying, all right, is there something we need to worry about here? Because now you're involving the school the moment you put it on letterhead. And to me, that's where this story starts to become problematic. As I said yesterday on the show, everybody wants to talk about whether or not, this is some woman looking for a payday, whether, Bill Belichick, as Sam alluded to, blink twice if you need help. These sorts of conversations. I'm still want to believe that this everything's on the up and up, and it's just a guy dating a much younger woman, and whatever. Let them work that out. But now it starts to become an issue where North Carolina is involved, when you have, North Carolina letterhead essentially being used to put out statements on his relationship with this woman and whether or not she's intervening in a CBS 60, Sunday morning interview. Sam, it's just not a good look.
Yeah, so a couple of things, man. Just off the top, I read the statement that North Carolina put out, and I would like to allege that Bill Belichick did not write it, for a plethora of reasons. One, I went to school with a bunch of people who write those professionally, and it looks like it was done by a professional. Two, read it and tell me that Bill Belichick used all of those adjectives. No shot. Three, and this is a different point. To me, Jason, this situation has reached a new level of danger, and like, seriously, someone's got to step in and do something at this point. I the most concerning, I guess is the right word, or indicting, better word, piece of evidence against Jordan and UNC, I guess, in all of this, is that in the statement, they said that they had continuous discussions with Simon & Schuster, the publishing company that's publishing Bill Belichick's books, with regard to what CBS would and wouldn't say. Before I get to the evidence, I'd just like to draw back on my point yesterday about how Simon & Schuster did not send a single publicist with Bill Belichick to do this interview. Had that been the case, had they actually reached out and told Simon & Schuster what to tell CBS could and couldn't be asked, Simon & Schuster definitely would have sent a publicist, people. That's just how these kinds of things work in the industry, in the marketing and media industry. That's just how those kind of things work. And then CBS PR comes out yesterday afternoon and puts out a statement that says, we were in constant communication with Simon & Schuster, and they told us we could ask whatever we want. This was never told to us by them that we had to stay in a certain lane, yada, yada, yada. Really, really, like you said, just a bad look when you start to involve the employer, because, and again, now, in a hypothetical world, if one of the people involved in this relationship was engaging in criminal activities, the worst thing to do as a criminal is involve the government. And the UNC is a state-run college. You are single-handedly involving the government yourself. I am very confused. I think that hypothetically, allegedly, if there is any criminal activity, it is being orchestrated completely improperly.
I don't think there's any.
I'm just worried about Bill at this point, man. I just hope he's okay.
I don't necessarily worry about criminal activity. What I do worry about is the appearance of impropriety, or at least dishonesty, from Belichick when he says, well, they said that there were, these preconditions and this and this. All that CBS has to do to shut this down, by the way, release the emails. Put the emails out there that say there were no preconditions on the interview.
Reports from the New York Post as well that since dating Bill, since their relationship started, Jordan's real estate investments have increased $8 million.
Oh, Jesus. And there you go. Odds and ends wraps it up next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. Don't forget, Friday's show means NASCAR, and Tino Patino will be here. Talk about this week's race in Texas. Also be joined by our friend Robert Littell, Black Sports Online founder. A lot to discuss with him. Some reminders. SportsWrap with Jason Page, the podcast version of the show. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, Monday through Friday. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. We are on all of them. Go and subscribe today. It makes for great listening on your way in or coming home from work. The SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel continues to grow. Go and check it out. We've got SportsWrap shorts that go up there, clips from the show, clips not from the show. There's news that breaks. Last night, the Lakers lose, and immediately a SportsWrap short is available. You can go and catch up on everything going on. Our SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel as well. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Absolutely horrifying story last night in Pittsburgh. A fan is still in critical condition as of the time we are putting this show together. A fan fell off the Clemente wall, the Roberto Clemente wall, at PNC Park last night. Just an awful situation. There's all sorts of reporting out there, some verified, some not, in terms of how this man happened to lunge forward over the railing. We're not going to play the video of this guy falling because it could be the last moments of his life. And there are a lot of places that might put the information out there, put up a warning. I'm just not going to do it. It was just a frightening situation, though. The game was stopped, obviously, for a while. I don't even know how you go back and finish playing a game in a situation like that, but they did. Best wishes going out to that gentleman. And again, we'll have an update on it on tomorrow's show. But as of right now, all we know, critical condition, and we just hope for the best. All right, Sam, somehow we make the shift from that to talking about hockey and last night's playoff action. And look, Washington wraps things up against Montreal 4-1. Not a surprise. The biggest surprise, really, of the Eastern Conference opening round was Florida basically dismantling the Lightning. 6-3, the final. They wrapped that series up in 5, and it's just the Florida Panthers showing up in the postseason again.
It is, and obviously, especially in that game last night, but throughout the series, the move they made for Marchand at the deadline is just so crucial. Like, it helped them so much. It helped them win this series, for instance. The Panthers are always going to be a dangerous team. I think that we kind of learned that pretty quickly over the course of the last 4 years. But to the Capitals, though, because we just kind of brushed over that one.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, that win last night felt like a Team of Destiny win. Felt like the other team never even had a chance. They got a gimme goal late, just garbage time here, put one in the back of the net while we're up 3-0 or 4-0. No, it's 3-0 at that point. Yeah, I think the Capitals are a Team of Destiny this year.
By the way, Sergei Bobrovsky in that series against the Lightning, very good. And if that Sergei Bobrovsky shows up, he's capable of carrying that team a long way into this postseason. I wouldn't want to play against that Panthers team, given their experience in the playoffs, Sam.
Well, and talk about teams with experience in the playoffs. Talk about the President's Trophy winners, the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep.
Last night getting it done against St. Louis after you and I talked about, oh man, we got a team from Canada in the Stanley Cup playoffs combined with the President's Trophy winner.
Yep.
This could not add up well for the Winnipeg Jets, but they finally showed their talent last night and get it done against the St. Louis Blues, Jason.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that I'm at a point where I completely believe in Winnipeg because I don't think that, while don't get me wrong, Connor Hellebuck's great and he looked great in the, gosh, it was so good I don't remember the name of it. What was the All-Star break tournament?
The Four Nations.
Right,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
The Four Nations. He looked great in the Four Nations, which, I guess is probably the most comparable thing we have to playoff hockey outside of playoff hockey. You could ride the hot 10D, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if Connor Hellebuck's that guy.
He had a couple of rough games in this series, but he bounced back well last night. Made a couple of big saves in this game, too.
I just don't... are you... I don't know if I can fully believe in the Winnipeg Jets.
I think the West is just so stacked.
Both superstitious and real.
But the West is so stacked, much like the NBA. The West is so stacked compared to the East to me. And look, whoever comes out of that Kings-Oilers series is obviously going to be very dangerous. The Golden Knights are so good. The Dallas Stars, who we had buried, when they lost 7 of their last 8 going into the playoffs and losing Jason Robertson, they get Seguin back. That Dallas Stars team looks dangerous. It is so loaded in the West. If you make it out of the West, you've earned it because the West is really good, Sam.
Yeah, Jason Page and foreign last names, they go together like oil and water. Tyler Seguin is what you were looking for there. I do think it's funny, though, to your point about how much better and more fun the West is. Every series in the West is 3-2. Meanwhile, we know 3/4 of the second round in the East.
And by the way, Chris Russo's made a living butchering names. So if he can survive all these years, I'll be all right. I'm sure Seguin will forgive me. We're out of time. Does it for this Thursday edition of Sports Wrap. Thanks to you, Sam. Thanks, David Aardsma. We'll see you all back here on Friday. Who knows what we'll be talking about then? We'll see you later.